Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And welcome to Captain Trek's E-News. First of all, I will say Merry Christmas to everyone out there who it's still Christmas for. And to those it's not, I hope you had a good Christmas. Now, starting with the stories we have for today, we're going with the Independent UK of the 20 best Christmas films of all time. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying that there are some that I don't agree with, because unlike most lists, I did go ahead and look through this one. Number 20, The Santa Claus, 1994. When Tim Allen's Scott Calvin accidentally kills Santa Claus, a nice, lighthearted beginning to a family film. He's expected to take his place. He refuses at first, but when his hair turns white and beard and belly grow overnight, and children start approaching him with their wish lists, he reluctantly takes the mantle. It's weirder and darker than it might, than it has any right to be, excuse me, but it's enjoyable to watch. Number 19, The Apartment, 1960. When writer Billy Wilder first watched Brief Encounter, in which two people use a friend's house to consummate an affair, he wrote in his notebook, "What about the poor schnook who has to crawl into the still warm bed of the lovers?" Result of that scribble is The Apartment, a film that is a farcical but well wrought piece premise and career best performance with Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. It never puts a foot wrong. All right, now here's where I disagree. Miracle on 34th Street, 1994. Whether you consider this film heartwarming, Jim, or an insult to the 1947 original, might depend on which version you grew up with. No, I'm sorry, anyone with a fucking brain would know that the Miracle on 34th Street, while from 1994, while perhaps enjoyable, is pale in comparison to the 1947 original. Sorry, my opinion. Oh, yeah, my stream, my opinion. Um, Number 17, The Holiday, 2006. Film trailer editor Amanda Carmen Diaz and wedding columnist Iris Kate Winslet exchanged homes over Christmas in an attempt to escape their terrible lives. This Nancy Meyers classic is as predictable as its fake movie trailers, but it's warm and witty with a strange but sweet subplot involving an Oscar-winning whatever. Uh, Number 16, Happy Christmas from 2014. This low-budget, entirely improvised film from Mumblecore actor Joe Schwamberg, Swamberg Swanberg is an understated and underrated gem. Anna Kendrick is typically uh, charismatic as an irresponsible 20 something who crashes uninvited back into the life of her brother Jeff. But the film's secret weapon is brilliantly nuanced performance of Melanie uh, Linsky. All right. Let's see here. That's the that's from number 20 to number 16. Coming up is going to be number 15. Number 15, of course, now is White Christmas, 1954. At least they didn't go with the remake. Featuring a reimagined version of the title song, which Bing Crosby introduced in Holiday Inn a decade earlier. White Christmas intended to reunite Crosby and Fred Astaire for their third Irving Berlin showcase musical. Astaire declined the project, and eventually Danny Kaye starred instead. As an aspiring entertainer alongside Crosby, the resulting film was a box office smash and a subsequent classic. Astaire missed out. I no, I'm glad it was actually made differently because otherwise it would have just been a rehash of the same old film. Having a different actor in there, I think, really helped. Uh it gets on to movies I haven't heard of. The Bishop Wife, 1947. Of course, I'm sure that Mr. Lundell has. Based on Robert Nathan's 1928 novel, The Bishop's Wife stars Cary Grant as perhaps the most charming angel to ever grace the silver screen, taking on human form in order to help struggling Bishop David Niven and his fractured marriage. Grant Dudley accidentally falls in love with the whatever Julia. He's an angel, though, not a homewrecker, and all is well come Christmas Eve. Now, the next one on the list is going to be argued that it's not a Christmas movie by certain people, where, of course, they're wrong. Um, and, of course, that movie will be Die Hard, 1988. Whatever side you're on in the infernal debate over whether it's actually a Christmas movie or not, uh, it's hard to deny that Die Hard is a perfect action movie. This takes place on Christmas Eve and features lines like, "Now I've got a machine gun, ho ho ho." Makes it ideal holiday viewing, too. Now, before anybody argues that it's not a Christmas movie because it wasn't written that way, let me simply say this. When it was released, not when it came out, not when it was released into the theaters, but when it was released in the finalized version, Christmas was the holiday that was being celebrated. This was not simply an office party. It was not simply whatever, a holiday party. It was Christmas. Now, whether they intended it to be a Christmas party or not is not the case. It's not a factor because, as released, it was a Christmas movie. It was celebrating Christmas. Therefore, Christmas movie. Debate over. Number 12. Again, this is one I would argue is not the case, but Christmas Carol, 1999. There have been 100 screen adaptations of Charles Dickens' iconic novella, which sees a penny pinching miser changing his ways after encountering the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Though this made for this made for television film is far from the most famous reimagining, it's one of the best, in their opinion. Thanks in no small part to perfectly pitched performances from Patrick Stewart and Richard E. Grant. Now, I wouldn't necessarily pick that one, but okay. Number 11, Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944. Sick of playing juvenile roles. Judy Garland turned down her role as the lovesick Esther Smith in this musical comedy. When she finally agreed to it, the production was marred by her erratic behavior. She would regularly turn up to set hours late or not at all. It was some years later before I really knew that been what she'd been going through. Her co-star, Mary Astor, later said, alluring alluding to Garland's struggles with her mental health issues and addiction. But you'd never know any of that watching this warm, charming film. It's also responsible for one of the best Christmas songs ever. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Again, argument over this one. Number 10, Gremlins 1984. Yes, it is a Christmas movie. Screw you, Chris Knight, and the others who don't think it is. There are three simple rules to keep a gremlin from wreaking havoc. Don't expose it to sunlight. It says light, sunlight. Don't get it wet, and never feed it after midnight. Naturally, over the course of this Christmas comedy horror, all three of these rules are broken. The ensuing chaos excuse me, makes for riotous viewing. Number 9, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. It's a truth universally acknowledged that Home Alone franchise went on for 3 films too long, but this first sequel is surprisingly wonderful. Sure, it follows almost exact same formula as the original and simply relocates to the Big Apple, but with a formula this good and Macaulay Culkin still on board, he wisely bowed out after this one. It's hard to complain if you're in a if you're after festive cheer though. You might want to fast forward through. Oh my God, really? Okay, yeah, I can tell it's an idiot wrote this. I can tell, and I'm reading this exactly. If you're after festive holiday cheer, though, you might want to fast forward through Donald Trump's brief cameo. Really? You guys are that shitheaded. Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas. Go fuck yourselves. Number 8 is Carol. Let me see here. Page just refreshed. Moment. Um, There we go. Carol, 1915. And 2015, for fuck's sake. Carol, 2015. When it comes to Christmas films, there's no shortage of love and romance, but it's all overwhelmingly straight. Even Love Actually filmed a queer storyline line among its 524 interweaving plots before deciding it should be cut from the film, leaving that Colin Goes to America uh, abomination intact. Okay. And so Todd Haney's Carol, a beautifully shot adaptation of Patricia Highsmith's 1952 novel, in which department store worker Therese falls in love with a mysterious older woman. Uh, in the run of in the run up to Christmas, it's a welcome break from the whatever. It's your opinion. That's fine. I'm sure it's a lovely movie. I've just never seen it. Number seven, Happiest Season. Really? You're going to get into this again. Mm. Speaking of heteronorm nativity, a glossy mainstream Christmas rom com with a queer couple at its center was long overdue, and boy, did writer Clea Duvall deliver with Happy Season, Happiest Season, excuse me, starring Kristen Stewart as Abby, kind-hearted Christmas skeptic who must pretend to be straight when her closeted girlfriend, Mackenzie Davis, brings her home for the holidays. The film broke streaming records when it premiered on Hulu. The silver lining of this, yeah, yeah, it was going to be released in 2020, but of course, with everything going on, it had to be released on Hulu. Uh, the film has its detractors for some. The comic farce leans too far toward genuine emotional trauma, but it's in the long, slow struggle that make Yuletide a bit more gay. It's a great place to start. Really, I don't care. A happy couple is a happy couple. Just I love how you have the writers out there who seem to think they need to inject their opinion in their pieces. At least I'm forward about it. They're presenting it as fact. Uh, Now, number seven, or no, I'm sorry, number six, The Muppet Christmas Carol, 1992. Who'd have thought that one of the best interpretations of Charles Dickens' festive fable would come courtesy of a bunch of wisecracking puppets? They're not puppets, they're Muppets, sorry. There's a difference. In his role as Ebenezer Scrooge, Michael Caine vowed to act like I'm working with the Royal Shakespearean Company. Whatever ridiculous antics were happening around him, his tactic worked. Number five, Love Actually, 2003. We've all read the Jezebel article by now and know that Love Actually is flawed as hell, but there's far too much to enjoy in this ensemble rom com to write it off, namely Emma Thompson's extraordinarily rightly revered performance as the wronged wife of Alan Rickman. Number 4, The Snowman. This beautiful, wordless animation is not widely known outside of the UK. It was first broadcast on one of the fledgling on the on the then fledgling Channel 4 in 1982, and then annually ever since. It is well worth the 26 minutes of anyone's time, revolving around a young boy and a snowman that come to life, like Jack Frost, except not terrible. The film ends with a breathtaking flourish as the pair fly over England's snowy plains to the melancholy strains of Walking in the Air. And I'll have to look that up. Number 3, dear God, Elf, 2003. Oh, this fish out of water tale in which one of Santa's elves, Will Ferrell, discovers he's actually human and sets out to New York to find his father could have been supremely annoying if it weren't for Ferrell's absolute commitment to his ludicrous role, bolstered by strong performances by James Caan, Mary Sternberg, and Zoe Bud. Elf manages to be both self-aware and definitely uncynical. I'm sorry, I can't stand the movie. Um, but that's just me personally. I don't like Will Ferrell. I think he's a bloody idiot, and I don't think he's funny. Number 2, Home Alone, 1990. After reveling for a while in every child's ill thought out fantasy, I made my family disappear, says Macaulay Culkin. Culkin's Kevin when his family accidentally leaves on holiday without him. Home Alone then promptly changes tact, inserting 2 grimy burglars into the mix. To use some of the most inventive, inspiring, violent self defense tactics you've ever seen. And number 1, It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. Admittedly, for the first about 120 of this of the film's 130 minutes, it's not really Wonderful Life at all. In fact, this tale of a down on his luck bank clerk, James Stewart, driven to the brink of suicide before a training angel shows him what the world would have been like without him. Spoiler, much worse. It is deeply emotionally draining, but it's also warm, funny, timeless, life affirming, and a deserved classic. And I would definitely have to agree with the number 1 pick. Um, I was going to go over a few other things as well, but seeing as we're getting closer to time for uh, Christmas edition of Morning Brew, I'm going to just close through other stories. Now, the last story I am going to talk about is Christmas Day Powerball prize could reach an estimated 400 million. One lucky ticket holder could be in for multi-million dollar prize on Christmas Day. The jackpot has climbed to an estimated 400 million for the 3rd time this year. Uh, Lottery Associates said the estimated jackpot has a $292 million cash value. Winning numbers are drawn each Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 10:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tickets are $2 per play and are sold in 45 different states, as well as the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Winners could choose to receive their prize either as a lump sum payment or in 30 graduated payments over 29 years. So, with that, I do want to thank everyone for watching, and I'm going to see if anyone is actually in the chat. All right, I do want to thank Snorter Poopas Hugh Burr, 47 Yorktown. Um, and I'm sorry for not reading the messages. I just don't ever on this show. Aberjam UK. And let's see here. Let's keep going. Please take care of that bot, please, somebody. And thank you all for joining. Have a very Merry Christmas, and God bless.